welcome back to our second day of the IEG World Summit. As you see, we are a bit delayed because the plenary session has, uh, you know, they were not so accurate as we yesterday. So today we have a bit of a more tight schedule, and we really be to hold on our schedules. So that's why I make it short. Thanks that you are back. We will provide a very good second day for you. And we directly jump into the first point, which is panel four. Panel four slide, please. Which is our action for now until lunch. After the panel four, we will have a lunch, and then we have our keynote presentation of Mr. Gerard Couture from the European Commission and the other two panels to close. So I'm changing my hat now. I'm acting now as the panel chair of panel four. And I thank you very much, dear panelists, that you agreed to come to this place and make statements and bring in your expertise to the topic of patient summary. Why patient summary and why is it a hot topic? I don't know if you have similar experiences, but we in Austria, patient summary is on our agenda of the National Health Record Project. It should be maybe in phase two after now the phase one is finally set up. And it's considered to be very important. We even had a working group with, I don't know, 35 people, doctors, nurses, hospital providers, broad stakeholder group to discuss uh, about the patient summary, what it is, what we have, want to use it, and so on. And it was amazing to see how many different opinions there are what a patient summary actually is and for what it is good for. And that's why we created this panel, and we invited you, dear gentlemen, who all have in your domains some specific experiences with patient summary, and we're very interested to hear your perspective, and after on, discuss among each other the different aspects. So please keep as short as possible to engage the audience as soon as possible, and then you know, you the ones who have been yesterday, you know that there's a lot of talking going on. I start with Mr. Jamie Ferguson. Jamie Ferguson is a fellow at the Institute for Health Policy and vice president of Health Information Technology Strategy and Policy for Kaiser Permanente in the United States. He manages government and industry relations, health IT policies, and standards for IT. Before this assignment, Jamie was responsible for the development and operations of Kaiser Permanente's clinical and administrative data systems, information modeling, and standards. Jamie participates in multiple health IT organizations, research projects, and other efforts to help more
reports that one in every four people in the world will have and will be affected by a mental or neurological disorder once in their life. So, one every four in the world. If we take a look at Europe, 38% of the people every year suffers from mental health disorders. 164 million people only in Europe. And if we go to America, to North America, United States of America, 18.1%, 60 million people suffer from these disorders. Now, unfortunately, I want to make very clear, I want to bring this alarm clock to you so that you can bring it everywhere you go if you're interested in this topic or if you want to contribute to this mission, to give this alarm clock to everyone. Mental illness are a major cause of disability, economic burden, and death worldwide. And we have to do something about that. So again, we know we have this epidemic, and up to that problem, we know that we have a shortage of professionals. So actually, technology will help us to reach people that we are not able to reach with the professionals we have. So it's not a matter of substituting the human touch. It's a matter that all the human touch that is capable of treating people in need is not available to help the ones that need help. And on the top of that, there is a lot of stigma. Still, people, employers at work do not dare to say, I am stressed out, I have a burnout, I have depressed feelings, I cannot sleep well, I'm not performing, I'm here but I'm not. Not even talk about it at home. And when the problems grow, it's getting more and more complicated to share. So we need to use apples. There is a lot to offer. There is a lot to offer. There is a lot develop, and I am the first one to say that we still have to develop more because technology is there to be used and to be applied in the best way it can. But we have to rethink how mental health services are being provided. And I want to show you in a couple of minutes some examples, because if you want to have apples, we have to shake the tree. So we have to work hard for that. But we know that there are apples growing, and it's not really efficient to think that there is something working. Why not to bring it somewhere else? So again, evidence-based self-help and blended, so combine online programs with face-to-face contact are available. And now I hope that Bridget is going to tell us more about that in this short video.
In the Netherlands, there are many e-mental health programs available. At Trimbos Institute, we are working on a more sort of stepped care or step prevention approach. And what you want to achieve is that everybody finds something within the things that we provide. For the first step, we have interventions based on more or less on positive psychology and on maintaining your mental health condition. And the next step would be the interventions directed at specific complaints. So those are complaint-directed mini-interventions, worry less, sleep better, less stress. And then going one step further, we could look at interventions like Color Your Life or maybe Everything Under Control, which are interventions that are directed at people having mild to moderate depressive complaints. E-mental health and M-health, they can be provided in many settings. So it could be implemented at employers, at schools. It can be implemented in any setting.
Sure, and to go back to that point, I want to explain your vision about that. And in fact, we can say that in the Netherlands there are so many interventions available that we actually can provide a STEP e-mental health range of programs going for just-in-time interventions, which are quick exercises, quick boosters like we like to call them, to mini interventions, short programs like with 3 lessons or few exercises to support people, or to really extended programs. So actually we have size for all different people, from extra small to extra large. And because technology has been developing, and indeed we have the Internet of Things and everything is connected and we cannot be offline easily anymore, we think that around all these interventions, wearables and passive data are really important to provide meaningful solutions to the people. And close to that, we have, of course, many other tools to screen people. So you have tests, and people actually love doing tests to see how their mental vitality is going. You can identify goal settings. There are many programs to do that. You can choose your own tools. And if we put this all together in an ecosystem, which is also cooperating with face-to-face contacts, in a very integrated network, you have the best of all worlds provided by technology. And in this step care approach, I want to show you some nice examples. And again, I have to apologize if I don't show them all, because there are so many, so we took just a couple of them. Eddie Schippers was before me, so.
De app heet Temstem en dit is Tim van Temstem. En op het moment dat je erin gaat, heb je eigenlijk als het ware 2 spellen. De ene heet taaltikker en de ander heet woordlink. En het idee is dat ze spelen eigenlijk allebei met taal.
Als mensen stemmen horen, dan zijn hun eigen taalproductiegebieden actief. Dat zien we ook als mensen in de scanner leggen. En op het moment dat je die taalgebieden bezet met een andere talige taak, ja, dat kan eigenlijk niet tegelijk bestaan. Dus mensen kunnen, terwijl ze zo'n taak uitvoeren, niet tegelijkertijd stemmen horen. Die stemmen zijn natuurlijk niet leuk, die schelden je uit, die beledigen je, die geven negatief commentaar op wat je doet, die bedreigen je. En af en toe overspoelt dat mensen volledig. En dan is het heel fijn dat je met zo'n app even die stemmen even weg kunt maken. Zodat je je tramrit af kan maken, zodat je in de klas kan blijven zitten.
And for everyone in need of help, in the Netherlands we don't have only 112 to call to like the 911 in other countries. We have a special line, helpline, 113 online for people with suicide thoughts.
I'm fortunate to lead 113 Online, the Dutch suicide prevention platform. Apart from giving online help anonymously and free of charge by the internet and by telephone, we are forming networks, suicide prevention action networks. We are here to help people, to empower people, to resolve their problems and their pain, so as not to have to jump into the destructive mode of suicide. Our dream is a world without suicide, or a country without suicide, and we cannot do that alone. We embrace the thought that suicide can be prevented. We really believe that. In the Netherlands we have at the moment more than 1,800 people dying of suicide each year. In 2030 we aim at less than 800. We try to get there not only by providing the help we provide, but also by making these suicide prevention action networks. I think that there is a host of possibilities currently available, but these are behind the walls of the big corporations. I invite them to engage with society more than they do currently. I invite them to work with us and to really make a world without suicide. I'm really into breaking down barriers of therapy, of intakes, of large institutions, and getting the stuff available for the people.
Yes. So, what are the future directions? In fact, there are many new technologies that we can share, and you will see demonstrated today. And I'm going to talk about those applied games and serious games and virtual reality and sensor technology and all that stuff. But the most important thing is that we start really making meaningful products for that. And we have the honor to present today in this Congress the new generation of mHealth that we have been developing together with Philips. And this is actually the result of all the thoughts and ideas that I've shown in the STEP mental health slide that I just shared with you. It is really a companion, and we really hope that all the innovative technologies that are available over there are so intuitive and are so meaningful for the people that are going to use it that they can really work until their mental vitality. And you can see a demonstration of this after the presentation. So, besides, again, all the technology, I want to emphasize that implementation is one of the most important takeaways and apples that we have to bring together to the bowl. Because we can develop beautiful things, we can research them, and we can prove that they work. But if we don't make an action plan, an implementation plan, a marketing plan, whatever you want to call it, to bring that to practice, to help people to reach that, to reach those products, and to help professionals to use that as well, we're not getting anywhere. So Odile is going to tell us, she is an expert at Trimbos for implementation, and she's going to tell us more about some key tips to do implementation on e-mental health. Oh. Well, now we have another video.
In
Very
Moodbot
good.
kunnen cliënten zelf werken aan hun behandeldoelen, zelf signalen bijhouden en zelf gevoelens monitoren en weergeven. Veel cliënten zijn niet goed in het verwoorden van gevoelens. In de test zeiden zij letterlijk: ik wil wel delen, maar niet praten. Via Moodbot kunnen cliënten daarom visueel aangeven hoe ze zich voelen. Cliënten werken zelf online aan hun behandeling in Moodbot. Deze digitale acties hebben invloed op de face-to-face situatie en veranderen het face-to-face contact met andere cliënten en met hulpverleners.
Good. That was a brief demonstration of other product and apply games. So let's go to our implementation video.
In the Netherlands, since 2 years, we have positive and promising experiences with offering online treatment programs in the general practice. And we see that the general practitioner is a very low threshold person entrance to offer those online programs. You need attention for the subject on a national level, I think. Because financing is helpful if you train, and that would be my second advice. You need to motivate people, to inform them. They are interested in the subject, but they need to know something more. And the third advice, some evaluation with patients and professionals show them that patients are willing to work with the programs.
There we go. That is our takeaway. So, to go to our third element, and I am glad I can get some action now that I'm going to talk about running shoes. We need to step into the shoes of the people suffering from these problems. And as a matter of fact, it turns out to be that it could be you, it could be your father, your mother, your partner, your children, your friend. And today, in this important session, we're talking about how can we empower people. And I really do not understand that we're actually talking about that. I find it very ironically that we're discussing about patient-centered design, include patients' perspective, empower them, because it is about patients. It's always been about us, even though I'm going to take some minutes to talk about that. And this metaphor of these Nike shoes is just an example, so I'm sorry for all the other brands, but they have a very nice story behind. And I don't know if you know, Nike is the Greek name of the goddess of victory. And their logo is inspired on the wings of this goddess. And everything they do transmit this mission, this goal, this why are we doing what we're doing, and why are we making the nicest, the most beautiful shoes for people to have victory in whatever they want to do regarding sports. And it's like, imagine the product manager of this company going to the CEO saying, you know what, I have a great strategy for this next year. I'm going to put the client in the center. We're going to do a client-centered strategy in our company. I don't know what you think about that, but I will fire that person right away, because what the hell were you doing all these years? So the fact that we are talking here today about patient empowerment says a lot about how we as professionals has been carrying out our duty to help, and not putting us in first place because we find it useful, we find it handy, it is convenient for automation of our organization, or it has been just brought by the ICT company. We are in charge of making the best mental health for us, for ourselves. So I just want to tell you, it's always been about us. It's always been about the patient. And I want to show you another video showing a very beautiful example of a solution made with this filling. And I hope you also take it as a beautiful apple for others.
I'm a developer of e-mental health interventions, and when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I found out that in the first period after the diagnosis, the main focus of the treatment is on your body, of course, which is good, but I really missed some sort of emotional support because it's a really frightening, saddening and confusing period. That made me decide I had to develop something which combines two things: the social support, the sharing with other people, but also a way to increase people's well-being and so decrease their fear and anxiety. It's a very beautifully designed app. The look and feel is very inspiring, comforting, light-hearted. And I think what makes Robin so special is the combination of the social support and the self-help.
So we're talking about design, inspiration, beautiful. It sounds like some scientific people think, well, that's not our job. And it is our job to make products and services that are personalized, that are easy to use and convenient. And in order to do that, we have to think, again, differently. So besides all these technological problems that I've had for my presentation, which is a nice metaphor of what the challenges are in our field of work, I just want to recap again with wake up and smell the coffee, bring this alarm clock to everyone, think differently, and I borrowed this from one of the most innovative persons in the world. Use the apples we have, co-create, reuse them, bring them everywhere. And if you're going to do it, just do it because it works. Because we know that when we shake hands and we cooperate, we can go further. And I'm going to go back, because I saw that it's also a problem, to show you that this way of thinking has brought the Netherlands to a very unique position in the world. And I'm not only proud of being here working in an institute in the Netherlands, and I'm proud of everything that all these professionals, all of you have done to do this. I'm not Dutch, but I'm very proud. And I want to show you that video. Yes.
Developing evidence-based interventions, digital interventions that were robust in terms of an evidence base. I have nothing but great things to say. I don't actually think that this could be replicated by any institution that I know of.
So besides being a very, very nice promotion for the Netherlands, I want to emphasize again, we have done this all together, and we have it. It is there. So reuse it, again, shake trees, come to us, talk to each other, collaborate, get inspired about everything that you're going to see today. Think differently to apply it to your field of work, and bring the alarm, and just do it as much as you can. Thank you very much.
microfoon. Dat is toch verschrikkelijk. Wat een waardeloze organisatie.
This one? Okay. Thank you so much, Katerina, for the very nice presentation. Next, it is my honor to introduce to you Isabella Granic. She is professor in the Behavioral Science Institute and at Radboud University. Isabella.
Hello. Does that work now? Wait. Yeah?
Martin.
Yeah? Okay, and so does everybody hear me? Excellent. Now we are going to get... So my name is Isabella Granic, and I'm a professor in the Developmental Psychopathology Department at Radboud University in the Netherlands. You might also hear from my accent that I am not a Dutch, I'm certainly not Dutch native, but I have been here for 5 years. I'm Canadian, and I've been working in collaboration with the CEO of Trimbos and Trimbos Institute in general. Can I get my slides? Because I can only go so far. I'm an academic. I can only go so far off my slides. Okay. So in particular, what we've been doing is trying to design and develop applied games for children and adolescents who are at risk or already experiencing anxiety and depression. So 1 in 4, give me a optimistic if I'll ever get, I can't keep going. 1 in 4 children or adolescents will be diagnosed with an anxiety disorder or depression by the time they reach 18. Most of you probably know that statistic if you're here. You also know that the WHO has said that anxiety and depression are the largest burden of disease globally. And I have fantastic slides to show you for that. Can you go into the PowerPoint? Because that's better than nothing at all. Nothing.
I am so sorry about this. Isabella, you will be up next, which means we have to make a little switch in our program. And I would like to introduce to you a clinical psychologist and cognitive behavioral therapist of the University Medical Center in Groningen, Maarten Vos. And thank you for your patience.
Thank you very much. We'll see what happens now. I'm just waiting. Something happens. I will first start with introducing myself. I'm Maarten Vos. I'm a clinical psychologist at the Department of Psychotic Disorders at the University Medical Center in Groningen. And I'm going to tell you something about our experiences with the use of virtual reality. Am I sounding all right? Because I hear a little noise. Well, okay. Yeah, sorry. We treat at our department patients with psychotic disorders, and we use virtual reality to treat patients with paranoid anxiety and social anxiety. These are people who suffer from severe anxiety in social occasions. In people with psychotic disorders, paranoid anxiety is like they have delusions, and these delusions cause them to be convicted of the fact that other people are trying to harm people, our patients, and there are a lot of conspiracies going on. On the other hand, the people with social anxiety are generally anxious that they will be rejected by others. In both cases, they experience very high levels of anxiety, which make them cause to avoid the situations they fear. This avoidance behavior is the main problem of this disorder because it causes people to drop out of society. They don't go to parties anymore. They don't see their friends anymore. They drop out of work, drop out of school. In general, after a while, you see that these people socially are dysfunctioning and stay at home, drop out of work, and don't participate in society anymore. The most used method to treat these people is exposure therapy. Exposure therapy is an extensively studied method which is proven effective, and its aim is to teach the patient that he can deal with his fear by being exposed to the fearful situation. This happens like this. You go with your patients into a fearful situation, and he will learn that the fear will, after a while, decrease. He will also learn that his expected disaster, the disasters he expects, does not occur. When you do this regularly, the fear for the specific situation will decrease permanently. In our patients, psychotic patients with paranoid anxiety and severe social anxiety, it turns out to be difficult for them to get exposed to their fears. That's because the fear is very high and the social occasions are unpredictable. It's like if I'm walking with my patients down the alley and a blinded fan is passing by suddenly, I cannot control for that. On the other hand, people have to be treated mostly outside of our mental health institutes because that's where the fear is going to be. This is difficult because a lot of therapists don't have the opportunity to go often enough outside with the patients to practice, and that leaves the practice all by themselves, and that's a very big challenge to take. That's where virtual reality gives us an opportunity to treat these patients with exposure therapy, because in virtual reality you can arrange situations like happen in real life, but inside mental health centers under the supervision of a therapist, and make it less difficult for patients to start practice to deal with their fears. At our institute, we work with a program with 4 different worlds. A supermarket, a bus, city bus, a bar, and a shopping district. In these worlds, people are meeting other people. Our patients are meeting other people, so-called avatars. And these avatars can be modified by the therapist. The therapist can set the number of avatars, but he can also modify the ethnic characteristics or the gender. Furthermore, the therapist can make the avatars look at the patients. He can change the amount of time the patient is to be looked at, but he can also modify the way patients are being looked at. That it can be rather neutral, but it can also be very hostile. At last, we can let the avatar say things to our patients. This can be also rather neutral, like greetings, but can also be related to the specific fear of the specific patients, like a paranoid psychotic patient who believes or who is convinced that there is a conspiracy to make them lose his job. You can, in this case, you can let the avatars tell him that they will call his boss, for example. My presentation stops here. At least not at the beginning. It's moving again. Yeah, there I am. with my hair. Still, it's 2 years ago, I think. But in our study to this emotion of this exposure therapy by using VR, we found that social functioning improved significantly, and symptoms reduced significantly. I want to note that unique to this in this study is that we not only aim to reduce the symptoms, but also want to enhance social functioning, because our patients primarily want to participate in society, and maybe they will have some level of fears, but if those levels are manageable, then they still can participate in society, and that's what the aim of our study is. In my work as a therapist, I experienced that VR gives you a lot of more opportunities than I have without it. Like, my patients are expecting things to be happening that are normally never happening at all. So, but still, they are avoiding these situations. I can create situations in the VR which are very unlikely, but still I can let the patient experience that he can handle the situation. And that makes it possible for him to go out and have social life. In our institution, we are developing other methods, other studies to see what more possibilities VR can bring us in the future. One of them is Discover, that's dynamic, interactive social cognition by VR. People with psychotic disorders are generally impaired in social cognition, in recognizing the emotions of others, in recognizing the emotions of themselves, thoughts of others, thoughts of themselves. And until now, there's no treatment for that. So VR brings another parameter in this treatment. So we hope that we can influence those problems from another in another level. We also have virtual reality aggressive prevention training, which is developed for inpatient forensic psychiatric patients to train them to recognize their own emotions, aggressive thoughts, and aggressive behavior, and to train them to cope with them in a healthy way. Here you see here they are working on the worlds. Making the worlds people will encounter, like the computer is learning, first has to learn what aggressive behavior is, and then then the computer will how do I say this? The computer will recognize the behavior of the patients and will give feedback to the patient of his behavior. In the end, we have at last we have V-Relax. That's we are developing a VR therapy to enhance relaxation in highly tense psychotic patients by letting them swim with dolphins. We are very we'll see what that brings us. That's the end of my presentation. Feel free to contact us whenever you want, and thank you for your attention.
Dankjewel. Thank you, Maarten. While Isabella is preparing her presentation, something went wrong. We are so sorry about this, but she will be back, I promise. I would like to introduce, in the meantime, Paul van Gelderop. He is project manager at the corporation which is called Mental Wealth, and he will tell you all about it and why it is that important.
Good morning, everyone. Can everyone hear me? Because that would be a really good start. Yeah? We're good? Back to you? Right, thank you. My name is Paul Hilton. I'm project manager for the Corporation Mental Wealth. We are a national collaboration of 15. I'm going to stay away from this bit. 15 mental health care providers in the Netherlands. We represent around 15,000 healthcare professionals and 200,000 clients. Now, this is, for the non-Dutch people, quite a big organization. You can see all the partners we have so far, and well, hopefully we can add a few more this week when is interested. There's a bit of a challenge when you think about mental e-health. If you look at all the technical possibilities, we've got virtual reality, holograms, you know, these are going to change our lives drastically over the upcoming years. I myself hope to spend the rest of my adult life, if VR makes it possible, in this place where life is simple, happy, and there's always plenty of pie. But when we look at all these possibilities, it's very difficult to know where to begin. Where are we going to start? How do we transform all these wonderful technologies into something that is useful for mental health care? Well, one thing we can always do, of course, is look at our existing processes and say, well, you know, we've got face-to-face contacts. We could replace that, for example, with video conferencing. We've got paper questionnaires. We could replace those with digital forms, and that's not a bad place to start. It's certainly more efficient than more traditional healthcare. But it's also very limited. You're not taking advantage of all the possibilities that technology has to offer. Now, if you really want to develop new digital healthcare products, we at Mental Health are convinced that you need very strong vision of how you're going to use them. What goal are you going to achieve with these? We put that in a bit of a vision. This is the only text I've got in the entire presentation. Empowering clients in achieving their life goals with a minimum involvement from healthcare providers where possible through the use of technology. We think that digital healthcare products can play a very important part. For example, the exposure therapy is very good. We've got various more examples this morning, which I'll link to that. And we are also convinced that working together across the nation is very important. Too often, unfortunately, we see one organization making a wonderful little app, and then it's only available at that specific organization. So what we want to do is share those and work together to create those new products. How do we do that? That's actually very simple. We've got 50 members of the corporation, and we ask everyone to contribute time, knowledge, and resources to the development of new products. And we're not just talking about healthcare professionals. We also need clients. Clients are involved from the start of the development process, from ideation to creation to deployment. Clients are, after all, the people who will be using these products. So they're involved all the way. The corporation takes care of project management, hosting, development. So basically all we have to do as a member is contribute your knowledge, contribute your expertise, contribute time from clients and everyone else interested. And we end up with a product that all of us can share. Doing so, we've developed 2 products so far. One of them called Kick-Ass, a serious game for adolescents with autism. And The Journey, which is a self-management app. If we look at Kick-Ass and we look back at the vision of empowering people, being able to use and work on skills when it's convenient for them, Kick-Ass is a game which you can play at every time, presents you with challenging missions, and has to be played, well, it could be played without, but it's better if you play it with, friend or family. So friend and family can actually understand what you're going through. The game presents you with various everyday situations. This one, for example, a wonderful aunt-family gathering. I'm not sure if you've got any non-Dutch people, but in the Netherlands we have a social convention when greeting friends and family of the opposite gender. We kiss each other on the cheek 3 times. I can guarantee you that at a large family gathering that can get really tired very soon. So, you know, this is not something everyone enjoys on a daily basis. The player can actually choose from different options, and depending on the options that he or she chooses, the game will present a different scenario. For example, I could say here to my aunt that I'd rather not kiss because I think that's disgusting. As in everyday life, the game will then present you with the aunt being slightly angry with you. But because the game is not only played by the client, it's also played by family member friends, thank you. You can actually discuss and evaluate and discuss how to transfer new strategies and things you learn in the game to everyday life. So that's one of the things we try to build in our products, that it's possible to use these without intervention from a therapist. The therapist is mostly included to help the client and family member or friends, in this case, to deal with the situations they learn in the app, in the game, and to apply these in everyday life. So we try to take the dynamic of that discussion out of the treatment room and into the living room. We try to build a portfolio of apps. We've got 2 now, but we're also trying to take over existing apps in the market to add to a portfolio that all our members can share and use. So in the end, you can have you can actually choose, with perhaps the help of a healthcare professional, which apps, which games might be suitable for you, which might help you. Apart from that, we also organize workshops, all sort of places where you can share data, because I don't know how it is in other countries, but unfortunately it seems that healthcare in the Netherlands is very constricted to the walls of one particular organization, and what you like to do is break free of that and stop just keeping everything to yourself. Another important aspect, if you're looking at e-health, it is very important to think in advance on how these products are going to be used. It's unfortunately very common to develop a wonderful e-health product and then realize that nothing has changed, but apart from the regular treatment that we're already doing, you also have an app, and then you have another app. So you're basically increasing the amount of healthcare you're giving. The apps that we try to develop, and we think is paramount when developing e-health in any form, is that it should not be used on top of, but instead of. If you look at Kick-Ass, for example, was specifically designed to reduce time in group sessions when it comes to social and communicative skills. If we look at app The Journey, which I will not go into right now, allows someone to take more self-control of their life, more insight into the reactions and the signals their body and mind is giving them, thus reducing time in face-to-face therapy and also increasing the effectiveness of that. We also made a little error of thinking when we started with the entire corporation, because we started it from mental health care providers, specialist mental health care providers. But we started realizing later on that it's also very important to take these products and get them across to other organizations. For example, the GP could very well benefit from one of the apps that we've made, but we've also got all sort of other organizations in healthcare and well-being that could very well benefit. So we're trying to reach out, break those barriers of the very specialist mental health care providers and go much broader, more collaboration on all fronts. Thank you. Everything's being monitored very carefully, so I have to... This is actually going to be my last slide, so it should be fine on time. One of the things that I think is most paramount to the way we work and try to develop new healthcare, digital healthcare in this case, is that, or to put it best, at one of the recent board meetings, one of the members there said, well, you know, I really wish that I could close shop in about 2 weeks, that mental health care provision would no longer be needed. At the corporation, we try to work together to make that as possible as is humanly possible. And if anyone is interested in joining us in that, feel free to find me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Paul. Is this one working? Can you hear me? The signs behind me are really hopeful. This must be Isabella's presentation, so I'm confident that she will be up here in a few minutes. The last test, I think, going on. Thank you for your patience. I'd like to reintroduce to you our esteemed professor, Isabella.
Now I've become esteemed. Now I've become esteemed after all that. Okay, so let's go through this. You know who I am. And before I go on, I want to say that the things that I'm going to be presenting to you and the information that I'm going to be showing you, especially the research, is certainly not my own work. We work very closely. My closest collaborators, Professor Rutger Engels at the Trimbos Institute, but there's a whole lot of graduate students and faculty, artists and designers that I hope I'll introduce you a little bit to in my presentation. So as I said, the rates of anxiety and depression are very high. Around 1 in 4 kids are diagnosed. About 40% are expected to be actually having the problems, but are not being identified early enough. And so what you've heard today a little bit about is a whole lot of e-mental health solutions and possible ways of attacking the issue. And especially we understand, and we've been told, about the benefits of e-health interventions in terms of no stigma, cost, accessibility, and scalability we already know about. So I don't want to repeat that. We haven't heard about the actual research, but there's lots of meta-analysis to suggest that e-mental health solutions for anxiety and depression especially can be effective, particularly the ones that are based on cognitive behavioral principles. But really importantly, this research has also shown that the best results, and by far the most replicable and strong results with e-mental health solutions come with a coach and therapist. You cannot give somebody a e-mental health solution and say, go for it. Do your own treatment. We'll see you at the end of it. Hope everything's going to go okay. All right, so by far the better and more reliable outcomes come from this coach and therapist. So this is great. We still need the face-to-face interactions, and this is important to keep in mind. The work we're doing is to try to think about what is it that we are missing when we're doing these e-mental health interventions that we could actually address, not with a therapist. And so I was part of a partnership, a joint action with the Trimbos Institute that the European Commission commissioned. And one of the things we found as we reviewed the work that's being done across the EU is that there are very consistent problems in terms of the implementation and usage of these e-mental health issues. And those are the kinds of limitations that we want to address with video games, applied games. I won't get into my rant about why I don't call them serious games. So on top of the benefits of cost and accessibility that you get from e-mental health solutions, you get some really unique ones with games. The first and most important is that we know our e-mental health solutions are usually really, I don't know how to say this nicely, boring. They're not engaging. They are if you're highly motivated. If you are an adult who feels like they're at their absolute end, maybe you can be motivated enough to do the exercises on your own. But especially when we talk about children and youth, which is the focus of our research and applications, you need people to be engaged. You can't build it and expect them to come, right? And games are really well suited to be these engaging, motivating contexts. Retention and adherence is the #1 issue in e-mental health. We build these beautiful systems online that are evidence-based if we keep people doing it and we have somebody checking in on you. But otherwise, how many times have you downloaded a yoga app or a meditation app and then never clicked it to open it even, right? We do this all the time. We don't stay in those applications. And that's what we try to address with applied games. And when I say applied games, I mean something that usually isn't considered as the norm when we talk about serious games. I'm not going to get into personalization. So I run a lab called the Games for Emotional and Mental Health Lab, okay, so the GEM lab. And the framework we use, we have a mission that we talk about, which is to disrupt the way mental health interventions are designed, delivered, and experienced. These aren't buzzwords. Each one of them has really clear implications on how we do our work, okay? I'll focus a teeny tiny bit on each one of them. In terms of design, we are always starting from the very beginning from a multidisciplinary perspective. We have researchers, academics, and scientists that know about the etiology and development of depression and anxiety. We also invite clinicians and frontline workers to talk about evidence-based practice and what we know works. And then we invite the stakeholders and youth, and we've heard a little bit about that, to talk with us with the game designers. We don't go down our hall like most psychologists do and ask our programmer, who does usually our statistics for us, to design a game for us. We go out and partner up with commercial game developers who are artists, who are designers, who do the kind of things that we don't usually talk about in these kinds of rooms. And then importantly, we do empirical research. So we look at outcomes and the process by which we get our outcomes. We run randomized controlled trials, and those research outcomes feed back to the game designers who help us work out the best game there is for the kids and youth that we work in. Then we try to disseminate, of course, to mental health agencies and schools, but we also want to commercialize. And this is usually a very bad word when it comes to academics, but I think it's absolutely critical if we're going to have an impact on prevalence rates of anxiety and depression in youth. We need to commercialize these products and become the sort of tech can be the new pharma in a very different kind of way to help us leverage and get these games out to people. We work with a lot of really talented designers, commercial international designers who are consumer driven, and this is really, really important. And we make our games as much like they are in the commercial, accessible world as kids are used to. So games are incredibly emotional experiences. And what we want to do is actually instill negative emotional experiences like anxiety, loss, fear, frustration in those games so that we then design systems where kids and youth are motivated to learn the kinds of strategies they need to get out of those emotional states. Unless you give them the negative emotions, you're not going to motivate them to learn the skills we want to give them to get out of them. So we take these scientific principles, we translate them into game mechanics, which is a one-year process that looks very easy. We hope to have an impact on cognitions and emotions so that our outcomes are positive. I'm going to give you one example of a game called Mindlight. It's a 3D neurofeedback game. You put a headset on that measures your EEG brainwaves, and basically those are indices of either relaxation or anxiety, focused attention or diffused attention. And the more relaxed you are in the game environment changes. We use two evidence-based techniques called exposure and attention bias modification that I won't have time to talk to you about, but I do want to just show you a little bit of the game so you understand this isn't the kind of game you're usually used to. If we have the volume, maybe? So kids go into the game and they learn how to use a few relaxation techniques really quickly, breathing exercises and so on, and then they're tasked with going up to really scary things, so this is exposure therapy, and staying relaxed. The more relaxed they are, the bigger their light shines, and then they go on to uncover all of these haunted places around the room. So they're really motivated to face fears in this extremely sort of intrinsically motivated, this is attention bias modification puzzles, and so on. It's a 6-hour, 8-hour gameplay. And we have to test for emotional design, so we want to know that we actually created anxiety in these kids so that we know that they're going to be engaged enough to learn how to get out of those states. And I just want to show you really quickly our most recent randomized control trial. We've had two. This is a trial that screened 750 kids approximately. We selected 170 that were high on anxiety, and we compared Mindlight to cognitive behavioral therapy done by clinicians, clinically trained clinicians in a school context. And the hypothesis was that we would be as good as CBT, so the evidence-based practice. What you see with CBT is before and after treatment, you get a significant decrease in anxiety. 3-month follow-up after treatment is done, we remain significantly improving, but look at Mindlight. It's almost exactly the same line. So we've seen this in 5 weeks of gameplay only. Obviously a lot cheaper, obviously a lot more fun for kids, and really importantly, after they stop playing the game, those improvements hold and even go on. In my last 1 minute, I'm going to tell you about the last project we're looking at, which is Deep, working with artists and designers in a VR project. Really, really different kind of approach because we went to the designers and said, I think you have something here that you don't realize that might actually treat depression and anxiety, and they worked with us. So the way that it works is there's a breathing belt that goes around your diaphragm, not your chest, not anywhere else, and so you learn to breathe up and down in your, through your diaphragm, and you're in a virtual reality undersea water. As you breathe in, you go up. As you breathe out, you go down. If you're hyperventilating, you're going nowhere. You're at the bottom. And so there are dolphins that you follow under the water, and you learn without any kind of didactic lessons how to breathe in that relaxed way so your physiology goes down immediately. We have lots of really interesting ways to then look at that breathing data and hopefully create AI systems that will adjust to each player's personalized vulnerabilities when they start the games off. And finally, I'll just end with what we want to do. We are right now developing biofeedback prevention games that will be on a mobile app and using heart rate to buzz kids when they're in the context that they're most anxious, and have them play games with their social network that will let them calm down during those contexts that are most anxiety-ridden for them. And I will just end with the idea that from our research, we really want to get validated set of mechanics, which we can then distribute also to commercial enterprises, the core dynamics, so that they can then build on top of it Disney characters that will be able to, or Aardman characters that will be able to be disseminated across a much larger audience than academics might be able to. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Isabella. I think it would be a very good idea to design a game, organizing conferences like this, because that can be pretty scary. And we would like to practice beforehand. You will be a little bit late for lunch, but I promise you, you will not be bored. I'm going to introduce a man to you who likes to let you, as our audience, work a little bit. He's a psychologist, a lecturer, and one of the owners of Marsing and Van Stein, Bernard Marsing.
Is it all right? No, not yet. Yeah. And that doesn't work. 1 second. Let's just try this. Okay, thank you. Let's see. All right. Yeah, and no, yeah. It's getting better. Try this one. That one is better. All right. So we give you a Dutch street. Do you know what that means, a Dutch street? You go to a party, you have to pay for yourself. And that's what we're going to do tonight, today. So something completely different. We started off, we started off with alarm clocks, with apples, and with running shoes. So we are going to use the running shoes now, and not the first two. What we are going to do are 2 exercises. The first exercise is actually a hormone drill of 2 minutes, and you are going to do that hormone drill. The second exercise is a fun co-creation session in a Dutch way. All right, so what we are going to do is enlighten the brain, because the main topic of today is healthy minds for everyone. So why not start for ourselves? And there is this lady, well, Amy Cuddy. Have you heard of her? Amy Cuddy? Well, just look at the TED Talks. She's in the top 10. And she talks about something really nice, and that you can change your own hormone levels. And that's what we're going to do right now. She introduces the method herself in only 30 seconds. Well, we like to hear her. Yes, there it comes.
In our studies, if people stand like Wonder Woman for 2 minutes, their testosterone increases significantly, their cortisol drops significantly, they are more risk-taking. In other people's studies, we find that their pain threshold is higher, they think more abstractly, and they are more likely to do well in very stressful situations like interviewing for a job.
So, that's what we are going to do. So please stand up, all of you. And we're not doing just this one pose. We're doing quite a lot, actually, 2 minutes. So the only thing you have to do is be a copycat. Just look at the screen and do the same, right? There. Try to be a sexy lady. All right. I think this is a king that killed 7 wives, so maybe there was going. All right, please stay standing, because we are going to do another 2. And this one will lower down your cortisol level so you can think more clearly. So do this and look at those beautiful scenery. And well, we like to become daredevils as well, so do the last one. Yes, and do the mouth part as well. Yeah, that's good. Just keep, we like to make photos, yeah, right. All right, so you can sit down, yeah. Yeah, it was just the warming up. We go to the next exercise, and that's all about co-creation. And co-creation and innovation is not about me, it's about we. So what we are going to do is doing it in 3 stages, but there are several rules, Dutch rules. The first one is be boring. Don't try to be world-inspiring or something like that. Just be boring. Be your own boring self. Trust whatever pops up in your mind. You're going to say something here in public, so whatever pops up in your mind, say it out aloud. Give credit to your partner, not only to yourself. If your partner said something that was really nice, just give credit to that. Be a copycat. That's very important. If you want to innovate, don't do it yourself. Don't invent the wheel. And we're not going to do that here today. And the last is let's ideas have sex. one good idea and another good idea, or one boring idea and another copycat idea, will get children. And those tiny children will be the blossoms of the future, actually, and later on, maybe the apples of the future. So, let's the ideas have sex. Okay, so there are 3 stages that we are going to do. And this is a model that we use quite a lot. When you innovate, you have to start with empathizing. Always forget this first step and do something innovative in our heads. Well, you shouldn't do that. Just be a journalist, be a reporter. And after that, you can make as many solutions as you will, and then we make some nice tryout here in the audience. So, the first stage, and you're going to do that with your neighbor, and I give you the exact instructions what to do. So, grab your neighbor, find a companion, yeah, right, that's what you should do now. And one of the 2 is going to be the journalist. And the journalist had 2 minutes, only 2 minutes, to investigate the world of his neighbor. And I call that neighbor the specialist. And that is a specialist, it's not, don't make up things. It's about your own life. So you've got a journalist and you've got a specialist in the field of e-mental health. And what you should do as a journalist is try to, I would say, let them cry. Try to get to the heart of their feelings, to the most entangled problems. Things like that. If you succeed in 2 minutes, well, then you're a great innovator, I would say. Yeah, just grab your neighbor. We're going to do that right now. And, yeah, just wait a minute. Yeah, right? And one of you is the journalist, and the other one is the specialist. We've got just 2 minutes, and you can start right now. One minute left. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. So what we're gonna do now is we reverse roles. So the other one is going to be the journalist, and we do have a new specialist as well. Yeah, you can start for the second 2 minutes. Yeah, did you actually reverse roles? Did you change roles? We have another. Yeah, did you do that? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's about it. And we go to the second phase, to the second stage of this co-creation project. And that what you're going to do now is make as many solutions as you can on the problem of your companion, so to say. And then we change roles again, again in 2 minutes. Yeah? As many solutions on that specific problem as you can make, and do that together. And you can write that down or something like that, so don't forget what you made up today. Yeah, right? There we go. 2 minutes again. And then we change roles. All right, and that were 2 minutes. So you can change roles, reverse roles, and try to dig into the problems of that other person. Yeah, change roles. Echt een beetje laat beginnen. Okay, we're gonna stop this second stage because we do have a tiny time problem, and that's we started off far too late. So I want to go through to the third stage, if that's all right, yeah. And in that third stage, what we would have done is that we used the audience as a tryout scene. But I think we're out of time. Is that true? 5 more minutes, so we can do that. What we like to do is that you come up with ideas here in the audience, and if some other one has got a nice idea, just tell us, so we can make these ideas have sex, right? And make new blossoms. Is anyone who likes to say more about one of the innovative thoughts that came up in those last 4 minutes? And
suffering. The thought we had is that suffering can be something good.
Oh, that's a fun thought. Suffering can be good, actually.
It can lift you up.
It can lift you up. Is there anyone who likes to comment on that one? Suffering. Well.
Suffering can be good if we consider what can we do better the next time, and we find a solution that will make us grow.
Yeah, right. Some sort of a learning experience, things like that. So, and did you really pack that into your new e-health solutions, suffering as a chance, so to say? Did you think about that? How would you do that?
This one working now?
Yeah, it is.
By validating suffering as a state and by acceptance.
Okay,
being
it's a
mindful of
state.
it.
Yeah, it's not a trait, it's a state. And 1 on 4, well, really experiences such a state now and then. Yeah, right. And here is someone with a nice idea as well. Oh, you've got the microphone already.
Yeah. Alan White for Robert Gordon University in Aberdeen. My colleague and I have an idea that we break down barriers between GPs and patients by taking them on a mountain biking game.
A mountain bike game?
Yeah, that might break down barriers.
Yeah. Oh, right. Great. And how would you do that? The GP and their patients are going by bike?
Yeah, but this is where we'd like some help. And
oh, right. Is there anybody who likes to help? We like to, well, they like to cycle in Holland. Are there technicians? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, this is a nice idea, doing something, and while you're doing something, you're talking. And yeah, right. It's something like that. Yeah. Yeah, it's easier. Yeah, right. It's a nice idea. Yeah. No comments on it. So you have to look around. Yeah, for your technicians and.
No, I'd just like to add, we come from Norway, we can help with the mountains.
Oh, right. So we can all come over to Norway and have a nice walk in the mountains. That would be nice as well, yeah. Mountain biking up there, yeah, right. Other ideas? Yeah.
I was just going to say, you don't have to have specific mountain bikes. You can have any bikes.
Any
Dutch bikes.
Dutch bikes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Dutch bikes. Have you ever seen Dutch bikes? They're not exactly mountain bikes. No. All right. Any bike will work. Yeah, right. Okay. That's a nice being active during your work as a practitioner, something like that. Yeah. I think we have to stop, Brigitte. Yeah, right. Thank you very much. And I think I've had this last one, and I leave you with that one.
Thank you so much, Ben. Thank you so much. Thank you all for joining us during this session. We will now let you go to lunch and enjoy I'm sorry we didn't have the opportunity of questions, but we will all be here the rest of the day, so don't worry, you can ask us.